भगवती अष्टादशाध्यायिनी अम्ब त्वाम् अनुसन्धधामि भगवद्गीते भवद्वेषिणी नमोऽस्तु ते व्यासविशालबुद्धे पुल्लारविन्दायतपत्रनेत्र येन त्वया भारततैलपूर्णः प्रज्वालितो ज्ञानमयप्रदीपः प्रपन्नपारिजाताय स्तोत्रवेत्रैकपाणये ज्ञानमुद्राय कृष्णाय गीतामृतदुये नमः। यं ब्रह्मा वरुणेन्द्ररुद्रमरुतः स्तुन्वन्ति दिव्यैस्तवैः वेदैः साङ्गपदक्रमोपनिषदैः गायन्ति यं सामगाः ध्यानावस्थिततद्गतेन मनसा पश्यन्ति यं योगिनो यस्यान्तं न विदुःसुरासुरगणाः देवाय तस्मै नमः देवाय तस्मै नमः। Hari Om to everyone. So we finished our Bhagavad, all the 18 chapters in our last class, and now today we are going to see the glory, the what you call the phalam. Not the phalam. It is about how great is this Bhagavad Gita. Even just chanting half a shloka or one shloka, how you can come over the curses or the sins, or you can reach the liberation, things like that. So this is called Gita Mahatmya, the glories of Bhagavad Gita here. So this after finishing the Gita, it is very important that we do the Mahatmya of glory, Mahatmya of Gita also. If you don't do it, it is considered as incomplete. It is not, completely done. So if you see, many of the stutis and even Ganesha Atharva Shirsha, there is always at the end what we call the Palashruti, what you get for chanting. Okay, and so if you chant one time, what happens? If you chant two times, what happens? Here, the Bhagavad Gita has 18 chapters. So there is a glory for each chapter also. Okay, so this is what we are going to see today. So Gita Mahatma is mentioned in Mahabharata and also in various Puranas like Padma Purana, Varaha Purana, and Skanda Purana also. So first let us see what is it said in the Varaha Purana. The reason why I took the Varaha Purana is, this is the Bhagavad Gita that I use. This is the Kannada book. And in this one, there is this Gita Mahatma. This is from Varaha Purana. So this is the reason I'm taking this one first. So here, the Suta Muni narrates what is the glory of Bhagavad Gita, Mahatma of Gita. So here when you say, why Suta Muni came, this was the conversation between Lord Krishna and Arjuna, and Sanjaya was there, and Dhritarashtra was listening to Sanjaya. But where did it Suta come here? See, what happens is, in olden days, when they used to the yagnas, in the evening, you cannot do it. Once the sun sets, you cannot have the fire ritual. You have to start all over again in the morning. So in the evening, they used to spend, all these sages used to spend time talking about the Puranas and asking questions each other and things like that. So Suta Muni always was there. And he was a very knowledgeable person, and he would tell about the glory of the different things, glory of different Puranas or the Puranas itself, like that. So here, Suta Muni in Varaha Purana is telling the glory of Bhagavad Gita. Okay, so here it is in the form of a conversation. So it is the conversation between Mother Earth So which is known as um, Dharovacha. Dhara is, Dharati, that is, she is the Mother Earth. So it is the conversation between the Mother Earth and Lord Vishnu. Okay, so we will see that one today. And so here it says, Dharovacha Bhagavan Parameshana Bhaktiravya Vicharini Prarabdham Bhujyamanasya Katham Bhavati He Prabho. So Bhudevi said to Lord Vishnu, O Lord, a person, a human being experiencing this prarabdha, living in this world, how can he develop, devotion, pure devotion to Bhagavan? So here the Lord Vishnu answers, Shri Vishnu Ruvacha Prarabdham Bhujyamano hi Gita Vyasarata Sada Samukta Sasuki Loke Karmanano Palipyate. So Lord Vishnu says, even though the human being is going through his prarabdha, if he studies Bhagavad Gita daily, okay, he will be happy in this world. And he will not be bound by his own karmas, and he can liberate himself. And then Maha Papati Papani Gita Dhyanam Karoti Chet Kvachit Sparsham Na Kurvanti Nalini Dalamambuvat. So and then he says, this by chanting this Gita Dhyanam, all the Mahapapas that he has done, it is not going to stick to him. Okay, so and he gives the example here is Neela Dala Ambuvat. So it is like on the lotus leaf, how the water does not stick, it just flows away. Just like that, the papas does not stick to the person who does the Gita Dhyanam. So here we can take this Dhyanam as two different ways. You can say this is about the Gita Dhyanam that we chant in the beginning of the Bhagavad Gita, or you can say doing meditation on Bhagavad Gita. Both ways you can say, you can take this one. And then Lord Vishnu says, Gita ya pustakam yatra pata pravartate tatra sarvani tirthani prayagadini tatra vai. So now he is giving the glory of just keeping the book in your house. Like I remember many houses don't have Gita book also in their houses. And when I was talking to people, they say, only after coming to Chinmaya Mission and then we hearing about the Gita, we know there is a Gita. But before that, we only have heard about Ramayana, Mahabharata, Bhagavatam, like that. But we have not heard about Gita. So here, Bhagwan is telling the glory of just keeping the Bhagavad Gita book in your house. So here he says that where there is this Bhagavad Gita book and where the Gita Parayanam takes place, there it is like all the Tirtha Kshetras are there. That house becomes the Tirtha Kshetra. That house becomes sacred. Like here it says Prayagadini, just like Prayaga and other Tirtha places. Then he says, Sarve Devascha Rushayaha Yogina Pannagascha Ye Gopala Gopika Vapi Naradodhava Parshadaihi. And he says, where Bhagavad Gita is, there you will have the company of all the Devatas, the Rishis, Yogis, Gopalas, Gopikas, Narada, Uddhava, and etc. Okay. And then it says, Sahayo Jayate Shigram Yatra Gita Pravartate Yatra Gita Vicharascha Patanam Patanam Shrutam Tatraham Nishchitam Prithvi Nivasami Sadaivahi. So here the Lord Vishnu is telling, oh Mother Earth, actually I stay. That means I live, I dwell in that place where Gita Parayana, Gita studies or Gita Pravachanas are taking place. So that reminded me of, like, when we do the Ramayana, Hanumanji says, wherever the Ramayana is happening, I will go and sit there and listen to the pravachan. So here Bhagavan says, wherever the pravachans are happening, I am there. And the seventh one, Gita Shrayeham Tishtami, Gita Me Chotamam Gruham, Gita Gnanamupashritya, Tri Lokan Palayamyaham. This is very beautiful. So Bhagavan says, I myself take refuge in Gita, under Gita. And Gita alone is my best dwelling place. And I take care of this whole three worlds with the knowledge of Gita. So you can see how great is the knowledge of Gita here. Then he says, Gita me parama vidya brahma rupana samshayaha ardha matrakshara nitya sa nirvachya padatmika. So says, there is no doubt that Gita knowledge is the best knowledge here. And it is of the nature of Brahma Rupa. It is of the nature of Om, the nature of Brahman, and whose glory cannot be described in words, and it is eternal, Nitya. Chidanandena Krishnena Prokta Swamukatorjunam Vedatrayi Parananda Tattvartha Gnana Sanyuta. So he says Gita, which is the essence of all the three Vedas. It says, like a Vedatrayi, the three Vedas, which is filled with truth and knowledge, and which was taught to Arjuna by that Lord Krishna himself, who is Chidananda Swarupa. So here you can see Vedatrayi, it is said. Three Vedas, but we normally say there are four Vedas. So why is it like that? It is because it is said that when Vedavyasji divided all the mantras into Vedas, he divided them into three Vedas only. And then later on, the Atharva Veda was added. So in some places, you see it as Vedatrayi. So don't get confused, what happened to the fourth one, because it was added later. That's all it was. And then the okay, 10th one. Yoshta dasha jape nityam naro nischala manasaha gnana siddhim salabhate tato yati parampadam. So those who with single pointed mind, with concentrated mind, do the parayana of all the 18th chapters every day. Okay, it's not just one time. Okay, every day they will attain perfection, and they will attain liberation also. The goal of their life, there is that fulfillment is there. Phate samartha sampurne tatordham patamacharet tada godarnajam punyam labhate natra samshayaha. Okay, one might say, how can I do 18th chapters every day? So Bhagavan, he says, Phate asamartaha. So if you are not able to do all the 18 chapters sampurne, then tataha ardham patamacharet. Then you do half of the Bhagavad Gita. Here, the 9 chapters of the Bhagavad Gita. And what is the punyam that you are going to get out of that? Godanajam. So whatever the punya you get by doing the Godana, that punya you are going to get by chanting 9 chapters every day of the Bhagavad Gita. And if you are not able to do even nine chapters, then Bhagavan comes down. He always is so compassionate. He knows our ability. So he will come down only. So here in the 12th verse, he says, Tribhagam patamanastu Ganga snana phalam labet Shadam sham japamanastu Somayaga phalam labet. So he says, if you cannot do half, just do at least 1/3 of it. That is 6 chapters of the Bhagavad Gita. So by doing that, chanting 6 chapters every day, what is the phalam you are going to get? It is the phalam like you take the bath in that sacred river Ganga. So that phalam you are going to get. Okay, if you are not able to do even that one-sixth of that, 3 chapters you chant every day, and you get the merits equal to doing a Soma yaga. Okay, now you can't do even that much. Let's see, still go down. Ekadhyayam tu yo nityam pathate bhakti sanyutah rudralokamavapnoti gano bhutva vasechiram. Okay, so you cannot do even 3 chapters. Okay, how about 1 chapter every day? So if you do 1 chapter every day, nityam patate bhakti sanyutah, you chant with devotion. Okay, then what you get? Rudra lokama vapnoti. You go to Kailas, and where Lord Shiva is, and you become Gano Bhutva. So you become one of his Ganas there in the Kailas there. Then you can't do this one adhyaya also. Let's see how low we can go. Adhyayam shlokapadam va nityam yah patate naraha sayati naratam yavat manvantaram vasundhare. Okay, so you cannot chant even the 1 chapter. So he says, Bhagavan says, Vasundhare, he's addressing Mother Earth. So he says, O Mother Earth, those who do the japa of adhyayam, one adhyaya, or even shloka padam. So that is even 1 shloka of Gita, and they are, what happens to him? Yati naratam yavat manvantaram vasuntare. So they will be always born as human beings. That means they are not going to go down into animal yonis or lower yonis. So even chanting 1 shloka every day, okay, that makes sure that we will have the human birth only. We will not be born as animals, like lower yonis. We will not go to lower yonis. And then in the 15th verse, it says, 15th and 16th together, Gita ya shloka dashakam sapta pancha chatushtayam dvautrinekam tadardam va shlokanam yappate naraha chandralokamavapnoti varshanam dhruvam Gita pata samayuktaha mruto manushatam prajet. So he says, one who chants, shloka dasham, 10, sapta, 7, pancha, 5, chatushta, 4, dvau, 2, or trinekam, so 3, or even tadardam va shlokanam, so even if you chant even half of the shloka of the Gita, you will live in Chandraloka. Chandralokama vapnoti. So you live there for how much? Varshana mayutam dhruvam. So for 10,000 years, and you will become the Amara. You become immortal. So 10,000 is a long time. So that is why it is said eternal. It doesn't mean that, eternal means it's not no death at all. Okay. As long as that moon is there, so he will be there. And then the 17th, Gita bhyasam punak krutva labate mukti muttamam gite tyuchara samyuktaha mriyamano gatim labhet. So he says, one who studies Gita again and again, punaha krutva, again and again, he becomes eligible for labate mukti muttamam. He becomes eligible for liberation. And if Gita is chanted during the time of death, it's a time of death, he will reach the better places. He did not say, he will get liberation, but he will reach better places. Githartha Shravana Saktaha Mahapapayutopi va Vaikuntham Samavapnoti Vishnuna Saha Modate. So it says, anyone who is interested in listening to just the meaning of the Bhagavad Gita, even if he is a Mahapapi, even if it's a great sinner, he will reach Vaikuntha, and live with Lord Vishnu there. गीतार्थं ध्यायते नित्यं कृत्वा कर्माणि भूरिशः जीवन्मुक्तस्य विज्ञेयः देहान्ते paramam padam. So those who do the inquiry into the meaning of the Gita, and also with that one they do the good actions also, that means they are doing the karma yoga also, then they become jivan muktas. गीतामाश्रित्य बहवः भूभुजो जनकादयः निर्धूलकल्मषालोके गीतायातः परं padam. So here he gives the example. Has anybody done that one? Give me some examples. He says, yes, many Rajashris like Janaka Maharaj, taking refuge in Gita, have got rid of all the sins, and they have attained the supreme abode there. And then Gitaya patanam krutva mahatmyam naiva yah patet vrutha pato bhavet tasya shramayeva hyudahrutaha. So those who study the Gita, but they fail to do the mahatmyam, okay, fail to read the glory of the Gita, then all their efforts are just wasted. It is shrama eva only. It is just a physical labor. That's all it is. एतान् माहात्म्य संयुक्तं गीताभ्यासं करोति यः स तत्फलमवाप्नोति दुर्लभां गतिमाप्नुयात्. So one who studies Gita along with this glory, that is Gita Mahatmya, he will attain all the fruits that was mentioned all this time. Okay, so remember, when we say this one, it is not like whenever you want to do it. Okay, it should be done on a steady basis every day. And now Suta Muni finishes this Gita Mahatmya here, and he says, Suta Uvacha Mahatmyametad Gitayaha Maya Proktam Sanatanam Gitante Chapatedyastu Yaduktan Tat Phalam Labet. So he says the same thing. So, this Bhagavad Gita, those who read the glory also with that one, after reading the Gita, they will get all the results mentioned above. Iti Shri Varaha Purane Dharaye Vishnuna Proktam Shri Gita Mahatmyam Sampurnam. So here ends the glory of Gita, which is mentioned in Shri Varaha Purana, where Lord Vishnu and Mother Earth had the conversation. So now this is the Varaha Purana Gita Mahatmya. Now, as I said, even in Skanda Purana, in Padma Purana, also Gita Mahatmya is there. So now we will see a little bit about in the Padma Purana. Okay, what it says there. I'm not chanting any shlokas now. Okay, I will just tell you what it is. Okay, so here the glories are given by chapter wise. So if you read one chapter, what is the result? What is the phalam you are going to get? So for 18 chapters, 18 stories, the glories are given. And here, this in Padma Purana, the conversation is between Lord Vishnu and Mahalakshmi. And it is also interesting. The first 7 chapters, the conversation is between Lord Vishnu and Mahalakshmi. And starting from the 8th to the 18th, it is the conversation between Lord Shiva and Parvati. So I'm not going to tell you the stories are nice, but you will get tired of listening to the stories also. So I only picked 3. Of the 18, I picked only 3. I'm going to share with you only 3 of these stories here. Okay. So in Padma Purana, as I said, in the first 7 chapters is the conversation between Lord Vishnu and Mahalakshmi. So it's very beautifully, when Mahalakshmi asks about Lord Vishnu's glory itself. And then when Bhagavan talks about, how, what is his power and all that. And then he also talks about Gita Mahatmya there. So there he says, it's always nice, like when we see the Vishnu Sahasranam, when Parvati asks Lord Shiva, how the little ignorant people can chant all this Vishnu Sahasranama. What is it that they can do? So Lord Shiva says, Shri Rama Rama Rameti Rame Rame Manorame. See that word, that first line, Shri Rama Rama Rama. And then Rame Rame Manorame. All these are, Sambodhana to Parvati. Okay, so always, whenever you see this conversation between the Lord and his wife, he always gives, like calls her with saying that, oh, the beautiful eyed one, or the lotus faced one, or like a moon faced one, like that, So this one here also, Lord Vishnu tells Mahalakshmi, oh, beautiful lady. And he says, I'm going to read this one a little bit, okay? I shall tell you about my firm existence in the Gita. And then he says, the 5 phases of mine are the 5 chapters in order. We have heard about 5 phases of Lord Shiva. In Nepal, we have that temple, right? I forget the name. Okay. But I had never heard about 5 phases of Lord Vishnu. So I kept on looking and looking and looking to see where I can find it. And at last I found in one small place. It says he's known as Panchavaktra, that is 5 faces. And it seems there is a temple in Jammu, Kashmir, in Jammu for this Panchavaktra, Lord Vishnu. So here Bhagavan is telling, the 5 faces are the 5 chapters in order. And then the next 10 chapters are the arams. So if you have 5 faces, you have to have two arams for each one. So the 10 arams. Then one is his belly. And the remaining 2 chapters are his lotus-like feet. So this Bhagavad Gita is nothing but the form of Bhagavan himself. Okay. So, and then he says, this Bhagavad Gita has the power to destroy all the sins, and it should be known through knowledge only. Gita gives the knowledge. It is not the rituals. So it has to be known through knowledge only. So he says, therefore, O intelligent one, he calls the Mahalakshmi as intelligent one. And he said, telling her, whoever reads this studies even a chapter or even half of it, or a verse, one verse, or even half the verse, will be liberated like Susharman, his name. So now she asked, tell me what about the Susarman? What is that story about? So now the story starts. Bhagavan starts telling the story about this Susarman. So he says, Susharma, he was a Brahmin, but he did not follow the dharma of a Brahmana. So he had some farm land and he used to work there, and he would drink all the time, and had licentious life. And when he died, he was born as a donkey. Okay. And this donkey was sold to a lame man. And this lame man used to ride this donkey, and he would make this donkey run very fast sometimes, or he would make the donkey go round and round and round. And so this donkey was abused a lot. And one day this donkey died. And the people around, they said, well, let us share our punyas with this donkey. So hopefully this donkey will have a better birth in its next janma. And they all gave some of their punyas to the donkey. And there was this one prostitute who came there also. And she said, I will give half of my punyas to this donkey. And it just so happened, because of that half of the punya that she gave, he was born again as a human being in a Brahmana family. That punya was more, powerful than all other people's punya. So when he was born in the Brahmana family, he remembered his past life. So he went to the prostitute to find out how she acquired so much punyas. And the prostitute said, I listened to the parrot that is in my house every day, and it chants something. I don't know what it is, but I just listen to it. So the Brahmana and the prostitute went to the parrot and asked, what is it is chanting and where it learned. And now the parrot tells its story. And the parrot says, I was a very learned person in my previous life, but I was very proud of my knowledge. And I used to censure others and even my teacher, my preceptor. So when I died, I was born as a parrot. Then I was caught by a hunter, and that hunter put me in a cage, and he gifted me to one of the ashrams, where the sages live. There, the children were learning the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita. So the parrot learned to chant the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita. But one day, some robbers, they came and they stole the parrot, and that parrot was bought by this prostitute. So now Lord Vishnu says, the one who recites the just first chapter of Bhagavad Gita, now you can see, how great it is. So,
140 by 60, 120 by 60 is enough.
So the question was from Mahalakshmi, a person who is in this world with their prarabdha and all that, how they get devotion to the Lord. So here Bhagavan is telling, by chanting the first chapter daily, you are going to get the devotion to Bhagavan. So this is the glory of first chapter. So you can see why I'm not telling you all the 18 stories. It is story inside the story and inside the story. And so actually when I was reading these stories, it felt like, I'm reading the Satyanarayana Katha. So in Satyanarayana Katha also, you have got so many stories. Now let me go to the third chapter. I'm skipping the second one. So I'm going to tell you the third chapter and the fourth chapter. That's all I'm going to tell you. And then I'll go to the Mahabharata, where it Gita Mahatma is said there. Okay. So now what is the glory of the third chapter? So it is said that there was a man named Jada. His name was Jada, and he was born in a good family, but he had all the bad habits. And so, he used to gamble, drink, and all those things. And so he lost all his wealth. And so he decided, well, let me go out of this place and go far away and do some kind of a business or something, and let me make some money and then come back. So he goes and he makes some money, and then he buys all the goods to sell in his place. So he's coming back with all his goods. Then the robbers attack him and they take away his goods and they kill him. So he became a ghost. And he had a son who was waiting for his father's arrival. So he would ask the merchants who were coming from different places, have you seen my father? Have you seen my father? But nobody had any idea, where he was and all. But one day, one person said, he was robbed and he was killed also. So now the son decides he will go to Varanasi and then do all the last rites for his father. And he, when he was walking to Varanasi, it took him about 8 to 9 days. So every day in the evening after the Sandhya, he would chant the third chapter of the Bhagavad Gita with devotion. And so on the 9th day, when he was still chanting, he heard something in the sky. And when he lifted his eyes to see what is happening, he saw a beautiful chariot going in the sky, and there was a very resplendent person sitting in that one. And then he saw it was his own father. So the father tells the son, oh, my son, it's all because of you. I am reaching the heavens. Actually, I was in hell. I was suffering. But because of you chanting this Bhagavad Gita, now I am going to good place. So the son is very happy and he says, Father, is there something else I can do for you? So the father says, in the hell, there are so many people who are suffering. So why don't you keep chanting the 3rd chapter for all those jivas? So he chants the 3rd chapter for all the jivas in the hell, and all the jivas go to the higher lokas. So Yama doesn't have any work now. So Yama goes to Lord Vishnu and he says, listen, I was doing my work and this is what has happened. Now I'm jobless. So Lord Vishnu says, don't worry, you just continue, because this is not going to last long, because once that sun is gone, unless each person chants this Bhagavad Gita, they are not going to go to heaven. They're going to go to hell according to their karma phalas. So you will not be jobless. You just go back and you continue your work here. So Lord Vishnu tells Mahalakshmi, so this is the greatness of chanting the 3rd chapter. Even those who are suffering in the hell, they can be rescued. And then the last chapter that I'm going to tell you is about the 4th chapter. And this is the, what you call the section 8. In the section 8, this 4th chapter glory is given. So Lord Vishnu said, now listen to the greatness of 4th chapter here. And I'm going to tell you about the 2 apsaras who became the Badari trees. So now Mahalakshmi is interested to know how the apsaras became the Badari trees. So Lord Vishnu says, on the bank of Bhagirathi, there was a city known as Varanasi, and there was a saint by name Bharata. And he lived actually in Vishweshwara temple. So he used to chant the 4th chapter of Gita and do meditation also. So because of that, he developed great vairagya. And once he went out of the city, and on the way he decided to rest for a while. And then he laid down under these 2 Badari trees. And when he woke up and left, what happened to those Badari trees? It shed all its leaves and it became dry and they died. The trees died. He did not see any of these things. He just walked away. But those Badari trees were born as 2 girls in a Brahmana family. And this Bharata, one time visited that Brahmana's family. And those 2 girls recognized this saint, Bharata. And he says, they went and bowed down to him and said, because of you, we got the human bodies. And so he says, I don't know you, I have never seen you. Why do you say this one? Then those 2 girls, they talk about their curse, how they became the Badari trees. So it said that, there was a person, his name was Chinnappa, and he stayed under near the banks of Godavari, and he did severe tapas. And he had great love for the trees because he felt the trees are, always giving and giving, and there is nothing selfishness in them. So he loved the trees. And Chinnappa, in due course of time, he became realized and he drowned himself in that consciousness, enjoying that his own self. And it said Brahmaji loved this Chinnappa so much, and he used to come and spend time with Chinnappa. And Indra got scared at that time. Indra thought, oh, maybe Brahmaji is going to make Chinnappa as the Indra. So as usual, Indra sends 2 apsaras to divert Chinnappa's mind. And these 2 apsaras, they come and they dance and all these things. And Chinnappa gets, because of that noise and because of that fragrance that they spread and all that. He wakes up from the meditation, he gets angry and he curses them to become the Badri trees. So now the Apsaras ask that Bharata, so please tell us how we can get rid of this, even this human body and go back to our place. So he says, you chant the 4th chapter of Bhagavad Gita every day. So that is the glory of the 4th chapter, and they were liberated and they went back to their places. So like this, for every chapter, there is a story in Padma Purana. It's nice to read, but I think it will be boring for you to listen to all the 18 stories. So I just picked 3 stories. That's all. Okay. Now let me go to the Mahabharata. In Mahabharata, there is also the Mahatmya of Gita, which I had never tried to look for it. Only this is the first time I said, I have to study the glory of Gita Mahatmya. So I researched all wherever I can, and then I wrote my notes today. Okay. So here, let us see what in Mahabharata it says. So in Mahabharata, Vaishampayana is telling the greatness of Gita to Janamejaya. So most of you might know who is Vaishampayana and who is Janamejaya. But just in case if you don't know, I like to mention it to them. First, Janamejaya. Who is Janamejaya? Janamejaya is the son of Parikshit. Parikshit is son of Abhimanyu. And Abhimanyu is son of Arjuna. So Arjuna's great-grandson was Janamejaya. And who is this Vaishampayana? Vaishampayana was one of the students, disciples of Vyasa Muni. Okay. So why is this conversation that is happening between Vaishampayana and Janamejaya? Because Janamejaya, we all know Parikshit Maharaj, because of the Bhagavata. Parikshit Maharaj was cursed, okay, that he will die in 7 days by the snake bite. So at that time, Shukadev comes and he tells the Bhagavad Purana, the whole Bhagavata is recited. Bhagavatam is recited. Okay. And on the 7th day, the Takshaka comes and he bites, and Parikshit dies also. But it is said, even before Takshaka came, Parikshit had reached that what do you call that, moksha. He had no awareness of his body at all. So Takshaka bit that body where Parikshit was not there. Anyway, that is a different story. So here, when Janamejaya, he knows why his father Parikshit died, and he's very angry with the snakes, with Takshaka. So he decides that he wants to do a snake sacrifice. It's known as what is a Sarpa Satra, where in that homa, all the living snakes, they come and fall on their own because of the chanting that was done there. And there, sage Vyasa himself, he comes there and attends the sacrifice. And Janamejaya requests Vyasa to narrate the story of his ancestors, Pandavas. And which, Vyasa had already written in the epic form Mahabharata. So Vyasa asked his disciple Vaishampayana to narrate the story. So here, the Vaishampayana, after telling about the Bhagavad Gita also, now he is telling the Gita Mahatmya to Janamejaya. So that is where the connection is here now. So here, the sage says, I'm taking my Mahabharata book here. So the Vaishampayana says tells Janamejaya, now we have heard the Gita and you should chant it and study it and follow what it is said there. And if you do this one, there is actually no need for any other scriptures at all. Because the result you get from the studying the Vedas, you get that from the studying of the Bhagavad Gita. So we have seen in the Gita Dhyanam, Sarvopanishado Gavo, right? So it is the essence of all the Vedas there. So, and then he talks about the greatness of Gita. So he says here, Sarva Shastramayi Gita, Sarva Deva Mayo Harihi, Sarva Tirtha Mayi Ganga, Sarva Veda Mayo Manuhu. So it says, why I said that, Gita is enough, you don't need any other scriptures, is just because just as Lord Hari is the Lord of all the Lords, just as Ganga is the most auspicious of all the rivers, just as Gayatri mantra is the most auspicious of all the mantras, Gita is the scripture of all scriptures. That's the greatness of Gita. Then he says, Gita Ganga cha Gayatri Govindeti Hrudisthite Chaturga Kara Samyukte Punarjanmana Vidyate. So he says, the one who keeps these four, Chaturga, the four words that starts with Ga. And what are those? Gita, Ganga, Gayatri, and Govinda. So the one who keeps these four in his heart, and one who remembers these four all the time, he does not have another birth at all. That means he is liberated. Then in the last verse of the Gita Mahatma, Vaishampayana ji is telling Janamejaya, how many shlokas were chanted by Lord Krishna, Arjuna, Sanjaya, and Dhritarashtra. I had mentioned this to you in my last class also. Here it is little different. That's why I'm telling you this one. So here it says, Shatshatani Samvishani Shlokanam Praha Keshavaha Arjuna Sapta Pancha Sapta Shashtim tu Sanjayaha Dhritarashtra Shlokamekam Gitaya Mana Muchyate. So what it says here in this Bhagavad Gita, where in this Bhagavad Gita, Lord Krishna spoke 620 verses, Arjuna 57, and Sanjaya 67, and Dhritarashtra 1. So if you add up all these verses, actually it becomes 745 verses. But the Gita that we study, it only has 700 verses. So there is 45 verses difference. So people might say, how come? What happened to those 45 verses? See, in Upanishads, if you take the Upanishads, there are many, many Upanishads. Actually, Hanumanji lists 108 Upanishads. But for us, the most popular the Upanishads are those on which Adi Shankaracharya wrote the commentary. So that's why we call Dashopanishad, 10 Upanishads. And we don't worry about the other Upanishads at all. Same way here, what happened was, when Adi Shankaracharya started writing the commentary on Bhagavad Gita, he took only 700 verses. But of course, he did not start the commentary from the first verse, Dharma Kshetra Kurukshetra. If you see the Bhashya, he starts the Bhashya from the 11th verse of the 2nd chapter. But he mentions in the introduction that there are 700 verses of Bhagavad Gita. So that is the one that all of us are following now. So all the great saints, everyone, even if you take Ramanujacharya, Madhvacharya, whoever you take, they all have taken only the 700 verses that Adi Shankaracharya had took for his comments. So that is the reason we only have 700 verses in all the Bhagavad Gitas that we see. but we might say, though wonder what that 45 verses the knowledge would have been. So many commentators, they have said these 45 verses, adding those things to the 700 verses is not going to make any difference, because the whole essence is in the 700 verses only. So we should not feel that, we are missing something here. Okay, so this is the Gita Mahatma of Bhagavad Gita. I hope you enjoyed it. At least I enjoyed reading all these books for the last 5 days. So that's it. So it is in, yes, Shobana wants to say
Yeah,
something.
Geeta ji, just while you were talking, and I was just considering all the other, satsangs that I've had, that it reminded me of Anubandha Chatushtaya, like you have the Adhikari, the Vishaya, the Sambandha, and the Prayojana. So in none of the Upanishads there is this Prayojana. Because it ends and that is it. But this is the first time I'm completing Gita, and this is the first time you are talking about the prayojana of chanting Bhagavad Gita. So this is the first time I'm seeing it. None of the Upanishads that I've heard, I've seen, there is definitely some of them talks about the qualifications needed, for the seeker, but nowhere there is this prayojana.
Yeah, it's really interesting, Shobana. I always, the last time when we were talking in the 18th chapter, you brought the subject of sadhana chatushtaya, where Bhagavan is giving the qualifications. And you said, in the beginning, normally we see the sadhana chatushtaya. But here we are seeing in the 18th chapter. I really, really, I told Raghuji, Shobana thinks so beautifully. I never thought about this sadhana chatushtaya until she mentioned. And now here you're mentioning the prayojana. It is so nice, because we all study Anubandha Chatushtaya. We also study the Sadhana Chatushtaya. But when I never paid attention and said, this is the prayojana. Thank you, Shobana. I really appreciate, your bringing this thing up. I really like it. Thank you.
I'm just stating what is coming to my mind.
That's
Because
good.
all this is from what I have learned from you and Raghuji only, that we've been learning this whenever we do Tatma Bodha, Atma Bodha, all these things are talked, right? So because I've never, I understand for any subject that you learn, prayojana is very important, but I have never seen in any of the Upanishads any talk of any prayojana. This today is the first day I'm seeing the end of Gita, and you're talking about the prayojana. So when you're talking about this, that's what struck me. So
See,
that's why I
what
thought
we
I'll share
say.
it. Mm.
Mine is book knowledge.
Yeah.
Yours is assimilated knowledge.
No, Geeta ji, I have a long way to go, Geeta ji. Long way. I've learned so much in the process. This is my first time I've gone through Bhagavad Gita, and I'm going one more time with Raghuji now because he started something. Because the more you learn, that's the only way, and I remember once you said that, once you sent us an email which was sent by, I think, Orlando, Chinmaya Mission Orlando, where you had given one shloka from each of the 18 chapters. So from that day, I chanted daily those 18 chapters. Then once you said you should do one chapter a month. So for the last 3 years, I've been doing, one chapter a month. And so I'm seeing, I know I don't know anything about Bhagavad Gita, but at least I'm getting familiarity in chanting, and that is giving me peace and inner peace, Gita ji. So, whether I know Bhagavad Gita, whether I can recite or say anything, but at least I make an effort to read one chapter. Like this is the 14th, because this is February, today is the last day. So this is the 14th chapter for me. So I'll start 15th chapter from tomorrow. Just to, whenever I get a chance. See, these are all learnings from you, Gita ji, what you and Raghuji have told us. So we're just learning along the way.
Thank you, Shobana. That is so sweet of you to say this, giving me the credit, but I know all the credit goes to yourself, you yourself. Okay. Thank you very much. Okay.
It's so nice to be back. That's all I can say. I miss you so much. Gita ji, I have a Gita here which has 115 Mahatmya shloks. It's
From which Purana it says? Does it say
It
anything?
doesn't say the Purana's name, but it
Hmm.
is the first edition from the Gita Gorakhpur.
Ah,
The Gita, I'll show you. It's a small Gita, just regular from the
Hmm.
Gita Gorakhpur, has 115 Mahatmya shloks.
wow, wow.
And I don't know where my husband found this Gita,
Eh,
but and it doesn't say from which Purana it is.
I see. So as I said, I took it from Padma Purana and Varaha Purana. It also is in Skanda Purana, and also there's a couple other more, even Tantra Shastra also has that Gita Mahatma.
Yeah, no, it doesn't tell you where it comes from, but it has 115 Mahatmya shloks. So
Yeah, is there a commentary for that?
no, it's just a regular, just the whole Gita is in Sanskrit.
Oh, I
There's
see. I
no
see.
translation, nothing, no commentary. It's just small, regular small Gita.
Gita, yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah,
no
even the
commentary.
commentary, that chanted the shlokas and the English meaning that I told you, it is my own commentary for that one, because
Yeah.
there's commentary is not
That
written.
Gita
But
from Gita Ashram, which has the 23 shlokas which you chanted,
okay.
that I also have.
Okay, okay.
It was published from Gita Ashram, Delhi.
I see. Okay.
So that, but 115 is.
These 23 shlokas are very simple Sanskritam. Anybody can understand,
And
if
so
you
are
read
these
it. Yeah,
115. They're not
I
very
see.
difficult.
I see.
But yeah, thought I share it.
Thank you.
Gitaji.
Thank
It
you
has
very
been
much.
a wonderful
So
journey.
we will meet again in the next Tuesday. So I will do the Gita in daily life.
Oh,
Okay?
great.
So that we
Thank-
will do it, and then we will see whatever Bhagavan wants, whatever my Guruji is sitting behind me there. He tells, that's what will happen. Okay?
It has been a wonderful journey, though. Thank you, Gitaji.
Thank you. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om. Hari Om, everyone.
Hari Om.
Hari
Thank you,
Om, Gita.
Gitaji. See you
Hari
next
Om.
week. Yeah.
Yeah.
Hari Om, Gita.